announced the 80D, the successor to their popular and in some ways groundbreaking 70D. Just a quick reminder to let you know we are giving away an amazing African safari. Airfare, accommodations, a pile of awesome gear is all included. Visit photorec.tv/giveaway for the details. That's going to be linked below and again at the end of this video. So what was groundbreaking about the 70D? Well, that dual pixel autofocus. This was the first DSLR that really offered significant improvements in live view focusing. It's fast, it's capable of tracking moving subjects and smoothly refocusing without that womp womp effect you get from contrast detection AF used in most DSLRs. Now, you can learn more about that autofocusing system in this video that I've produced earlier. Now, the 80D improves on this system with a dual pixel AF system that spreads across the whole sensor and further improvements in the speed. Let's run through some of the other specs, and we're going to make comparisons to the 70D, to the T6s and T6i, and when appropriate, some thoughts against the competitors at the end. First up, we've got a new 24 megapixel APS-C sensor. And now that's actually the same that we have in the T6s, at least megapixel-wise, but according to Canon, the 80D is offering a newly designed sensor with refined individual pixels that enable high ISO speeds. That's their language, not mine. I suspect that there'll be a slight but noticeable improvements over the T6s and the 70D, which offers 20 megapixels, but when you put these two side by side, you don't see any significant differences, so I don't expect to see any significant differences between these and the 80D other than maybe some slight improvements in the higher ISOs. We've got a Digic 6 image processor, which allows a few more fancy features. I mentioned the improved dual pixel CMOS AF, noted as significantly better than on the 70D, and it now allows for 5 frames per second in live view with AF tracking. That's an improvement, or you don't really get that in either of these cameras. Now you do get continuous shooting through live view with AF tracking on the T6s. That was one of the first to offer, and that ekes out about 1 frame per second. But when you really want to track moving subjects with a DSLR, the Viewfinder focusing system gives you much better results. Again, you can watch this video if you want to know why there's a difference between live view and the Viewfinder. And the 80D offers some nice upgrades here. But first, the Viewfinder is now 100%. What you see is what you get. The 70D offers 98%, T6s and T6i offers 95% Viewfinder. This might sound like minor differences, but one, it helps you compose more accurately, making sure nothing distracting is creeping into the edges of your frame. And 2, when you compare the type, you've got pentamirror on the T6s and T6i and pentaprism on the 70D and 80D, you really notice the difference in low light with that pentaprism viewfinders offering a much brighter view. The 80D now offers 45 AF points. All of those are cross-type. The 70D and the T6s and I offer just 19, and for comparison, the 70D Mark II has 65. Now even better, 27 of the points in the 80D work at f8. This is great for photographers looking to add teleconverters to their telephoto lenses. And this focusing system is improved in low light, good to -3 EV. The T6s is limited to just -0.5 EV, and the 70D is limited to -1 EV. Basically, in plain English, it's going to focus better in low light. Shooting through the viewfinder, you can get that 7 frames per second. That's the same as the 70D, but more than the 5 frames per second offered on the T6s. The ISO runs from 100 to 16,000. Again, I expect minor differences here. Some improvement, but nothing that's going to be groundbreaking and it's going to get everybody excited. Movie mode's now been bumped up to 1080 at 60 frames per second, which is better than the 70D and the T6s, which only offer 1080 at 30 frames a second, but certainly not 4K like we see from the Sony with their new A6300. When you think about 3 years between releases of this camera at this level, not having 4K, I think, is a noticeable drawback for interested videographers. Again, if you're just kind of a hybrid, you want to shoot some video, some photos, it's not that big a deal. But for people who are really interested in video, when you think about a year from now, 2 years from now, the number of cameras that are going to offer 4K, the 80D is going to look a little behind the times. A few additional features worth mentioning. We have flickerless shooting, which we got adopted from the 7D Mark II. This enables a more consistent exposures and kind of your artificial lighting, especially in gyms and arenas. This is a nice touch. You've got time-lapse movie mode, finally, and additional creative filters for video, whatever. Something Canon has finally started adding. I appreciate that, the time-lapse, not so much the filters. Wi-Fi and NFC like the T6s, which allow remote shooting by smartphone, but I'm now led to believe that you can actually control video with the Wi-Fi and the ADD, and if you pick up that new PZE1 device, connect it to the new 18-135 Nano USM lens, more about that in a second, you might even be able to control zoom remotely. I'm going to share more as soon as I know. I do know that this little PZE1, it locks into place under the 18-135 and allows for smooth electronic zoom, like a camcorder. So if you ever wished your DSLR was more like a camcorder, well, you pick that $140 thing up and you have that option. So this new 18-135 Nano USM, this is the lens that's going to be bundled with the ADD. This is a change from the 18-135 STM lens. The new Nano USM is a new designation that I believe is combining the smooth and silent focusing of the STM with a faster performance of USM. So one downside of those STM lenses, they're not quite as fast to focus as USM when shooting through the viewfinder. So an additional advantage of the upgraded dual pixel AF system though is it's supposed to work with all of the EFS lenses. Before we had some lenses that weren't supported. There's no word on third-party lenses. I do know that dual pixel has caused some issues in the past with some third-party lenses like the Sigma 17-70 in live view not really working very well. I hope that's been worked out. Again, we'll share more as soon as I know it. So I've got a blog post that lists out all of these differences and a few more that I think are important. I'll link that right below. The question many people are asking me right now is, should 70D users, people who own this camera right here, be interested in upgrading? Well, rarely does it make sense to upgrade to the next model. The improvements almost always are slight and your money's almost always better spent on a nice lens. That looks to be true here too. There's certainly some nice improvements on paper for the ADD, but nothing that's really going to take your photography to the next level. But videographers, you might be able to argue that there's some serious improvements in the video focusing system, and if you use that AF system, this might represent a decent upgrade. I'm going to wait till I use both side by side before I really make a call. T6s users, now typically the 60D, 70D bodies, that offers a nice upgrade path from these smaller, less capable Rebels. And that's true here with some of the differences I didn't cover, like 1/8,000th of a second top shutter speed on the 70D and 80D, but only 1/4000th here, micro focus adjustments here. But we've got the added wrinkle that the T6s is actually newer. It also uses a 24 megapixel sensor and it's got that nice kind of control scheme I talked about in my full review of it. So there are differences, but they're pretty slight as well. So really only if you've been frustrated by maybe like the lack of focus points or your 5 frames per second versus 7. But again, I think this is a pretty small segment of people and most are going to find better value in adding just a new lens or saving money for the 90D. And for those who are deciding between the 70D and the ADD to buy right now, you don't have either. Well again, I'd like to compare the low light image quality before I really make any kind of recommendations. The 70D is a very good value. Just because the ADD is out doesn't mean it takes less good pictures now. And if that improved live view focusing isn't something you need, you could buy a nice little prime with the savings and be happy. And for those who are interested in that new Sony a6300 and the ADD, well, we're comparing two unreleased cameras, so I'm not going to say much. This is really totally preliminary, but the a6300 looks a lot more future-proof, not only because of the 4K, but some of the other features as well. If you're willing to sacrifice some battery life and some lens selection, the a6300 looks like a nice camera. I'll have lots more to say about these soon. Both of them have their advantages. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you need help deciding which is best for you, you can visit my support page where you can get just that at photorec.tv/support. If you found this video helpful, take a quick moment to give it the thumbs up. I appreciate it. And if you're not already a subscriber, subscribe. We've got a lot more videos coming about these and about a lot of other photography tips, tricks, and gear reviews. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.